Hello YouTube, this is William. Welcome to another video. Been asked a few times about where did the Woodsman's grind or the grinds that I do, where it came from. And so I'm gonna try to give you kind of a brief history of how it's progressed. Compound grinds or dual grinds or multi-grinds is not new. I think someone brought it to my attention when I first started playing around with it about 7-8 years ago, and there's a complete playlist on my YouTube channel. If you're interested, I don't know how many, probably 100 or so videos on this grind and how it's progressed. Someone had told me that Bob Lovelace came out with a dual grind or a multi-grind when he was in Alaska back in the 70s. And I didn't know that, but wouldn't surprise me one bit, because anything that we come up with today as a knife maker, we're standing on the shoulders who've gone before us. So, you know, and Bob Lovelace is probably the father of modern knife design, in my opinion. He was way ahead of his time, and he was just a phenomenal thinker and one of those guys that think outside the box, which I greatly admire. Just a phenomenal knife maker. But anyway, so about 8 years ago, I was playing around with the idea. I love the tracker, and when I say tracker, I don't mean the Tops tracker. What I mean is the Wilderness knife by Dave Beck. I think that was a genius knife design. My hat's off to Dave Beck. I think that pretty much turned the knife world upside down when he came out with that. And then of course the movie The Hunted kind of put it into the stratosphere. And then Tops came out with what everybody considers a tracker, which in my opinion doesn't hold a candle to what the original design concept was. But hey, it's my opinion. Everybody's got one. So anyway, so about 8 years ago, I started playing around with it, and I did this knife. And it's very crude. The grind lines don't line up. It's just, it was a starting point. And so I started playing around in the shop, and this was about 8 years ago, and there's a video on my thought process as I was doing that. And I did a couple of skeleton knives. I think I did a Firebug that was available for a time on a dealer in Florida. I don't know if he has any more or not, but just a multi-grind or a dual grind, compound grind, whatever you want to call it. So that's where it started from, is because when I was using a knife throughout my and I've always had a knife all my life, as far back as I can remember. At one time, when I was in construction, I had a collection of over 600 knives. I've collected knives. And I was always disappointed, because knives would always excel at certain things, but be really poor at other things. And I kept wondering, why can't we design something that would excel at a lot more things? Now, is there one that's going to excel at everything? No. No. I would say no. But we can get one that will excel at many things, more things than just one straight grind. So the multi-grind or compound grind really appealed to me. And the tracker, the Dave Beck Wilderness Survival Knife, WSK, I think is what he called it. So that really appealed to me, and so I started playing around in the shop. And this was probably the first or second or third knife that actually was close to what I was looking for. And then it just kind of has progressed from there. Then I started trying to blend grinds together and say, what if I put a different grind and blended it to another grind? And so this was what what I called the Woodsman's Grind. So this was the first one. And again, if you look at that playlist, the Woodsman's Grind playlist, you'll see where this one, I played around in the woods with this one for several weeks just to see how well it performed, how the edge would hold up, if it was a feasible concept. And I was amazed at how versatile that knife was, that grind was. And you'll see that in the videos if you go back and look at those. And this was probably about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, somewhere along in that time frame. And so from this, I came out with several different designs, and there was a gauntlet going on at the time with several YouTube channels. PM101, Survival Serpa, just a bunch of people were doing these gauntlet reviews. You send them a knife and they would pass it around and do videos on this. And so they took one of these grinds, and I sent out several knives to several different people. I sent one to Blackie, had a green handle, and the first one to Blackie. I sent one to Survival Serpa. I sent one to just all over. There's just all kinds of different grinds and variations of this. And then as Blackie was playing around with that first one, that green one, and I was still playing around in the shop, so I came up with another design, that what is now considered as the Blackbird. And I said, Blackie, hold on, I'll send you another one. And so that knife went to Survival Serpa, to Blackie, and I think there was one more. I think it went to a couple other people. And again, there's videos on this playlist of how many people actually field tested that design, what became known as the Blackbird. So from there, people started asking to do it. And so I came out, and this was pretty much the first run or variation of that knife. And it was, people kept saying, no, I don't want that one, I want the Blackbird, which it is the Blackbird. But so finally I said, okay. So I had Blackie send me his knife, because he kept doing videos. He loved that knife. And so it was just getting out, to the whole world. And so finally, in my opinion, this was the best version. This is what became the Model 2. I like this version, and I had several models that I played with like this. I like the Butcher's Tip because I'm a hunter. I think that's the best knife for a woodsman, in my opinion. So I wanted this one to be it, but the whole world said no, they like Blackies. Even though Blackie was one of several that was the same, identical. But anyway, you can't argue with the customer. So I had Blackie say, okay, Blackie, send me your knife so I can trace it and make sure that I have a knife exactly like yours. So that's where the Blackbird came from. And as a nod to Blackie and appreciation to Blackie, because he would not let it go. He said that's his knife. So as a nod to Blackie, I came out with and named it the Blackbird, because Blackie's nickname was Blackbird. So anyway, that's where the Woodsman's Grind concept grew to, and it has just expanded from there. So that brings us up to where we are right now. Just kind of go through some models that I'm playing around with. Everybody has seen the Field Boss. And I'm still adjusting it, and I'll show you some different models or prototypes in this. And some people are saying this jimping right here, like you see on the Skinner, it's not jimping, it's actually texturing. And where that came from was I love Victorinox Spirit multi-tools. They were too slick. So I found a knurling program on the internet, and I put some knurling on it so that it kind of roughs it up a little bit so you can hold on to it. All right, so that's where that came from. And then as I was playing around with this Master Skinner, which that flute or groove right there, people call that a blood groove. It's not a blood groove. What happened, this came popular with marbles, and what that was a place where you could grab it as you grabbed onto the blade while you were skinning. And it was still, to me, it was just too slick, even with that, oh, wow, I can't even think of what they call that. But anyway, so I put that texturing on there, and man, it did the trick. It served its purpose. So from now on, if I have a knife that has a long blade that I want to grab up here on the top and kind of change the balance of it, and because safety with knives is the closer your hand is to what you're cutting, the safer that knife is. If you're out here and trying to use the tip, it's unsafe. But if you move your hand up to here and grab onto it and have a secure grip so it doesn't slip, then that's a safer knife. So with that texturing there, then that gives you a secure grip. And also with the little jimping there and everything, the jimping on this, it serves no purpose. So we'll probably do away with that. But anyway, so this was model B. And then I tried it, this was model C. So I changed the tip up. I said, you know, a Scandi or Saber tip on the field knife just doesn't make sense because this is going to be a heavy use knife. So I want a robust tip. So I did a model C, and you'll see that facet right there where it's got a reinforced tip. Okay, and it's got a Scandi portion here, and then a false edge here going down to a very fine, strong point. So you can do those bow drill divots and digging or whatever you need to do with this knife as a field knife. And boy, I tell you what, this is a camp knife and a half. I also tried 3/16 because weight matters when you're talking about tools. And there's another video that I've done on tool weight. And so, you know, if instead of trying to drive the knife through the wood, if you let the weight of the knife do a lot of the work, then you have less arm fatigue. Less arm fatigue means less calories. Less arm fatigue means less unsafe conditions. So anyway, I tried the 3/16. I like the idea of the 3/16. So I tried it also with a little bit variation and with a hold here so that people keep saying, you know, without guards, I'm scared I'm gonna slip up on it. So I don't like guards because they get in the way because I'm always grabbing the knife in all different positions. But with that lanyard hole up at the top, then I think that gives you another option. You put your thumb in there and you're not gonna slip up on that knife now. But it still gives you the opportunity to grab that knife up in the higher ends. So I think that the Field Boss is almost there. I really like this design as a camp knife. And I think we'll probably go with 3/16. It's just 3/16 is a thicker metal. You can use it as a pry bar. That's not a crowbar, but you can use it a little bit into prying, getting the bark off of things, taking down crates, things like that. It'll hold up to a lot more abuse. Batoning a little bit larger material, things like that. And also 3/16 is thicker, so it batons and splits apart material a lot better than a 5/32 does. So I think that for this model and what it's expected to do, I like this design, but we'll go with 3/16. So that'll probably be the next release that we do. And I don't have any idea when we're gonna do that. So anyway, but keep an eye out on this channel. If you're not subscribed, then please subscribe and click the little bell so you get notified when I do updates. So then I got to playing around. I got to thinking with all this war talk and everything. I said, man, you know, I don't do tactical. So maybe if I did a tactical knife, what would it look like? That's what the buying process started doing. I said, well, it's got to have a multi-grind. because to me, if it doesn't have a multi-grind, then it's really not a WC knife. Because I've got to the point now to where a multi-grind or a compound grind is versatile, and versatility is what WC Knives is about. So then I came up with this design, which is AEBL, and it's just got an acid etch. It's got Scandi all the way through, has a false point with a spear point. It's almost like a gladiator style tip for piercing. Then it has another saber portion here that's kind of blended up to this line here. I don't know if you can see it or not in the light. So it gives it a very fine, reinforced with a faceted tip for strength. So piercing, it's thick here, it's thick here. It's one of those pry bars that, you know, a soldier, he's going to use that knife to get into everything. So, you know, he's going to use it as a pry bar, probably less stabbing than he would be for just field use, opening whatever, tin cans, packages, just all kinds of stuff. But again, you know, if you needed it in a combat situation, it was there. So also, since I'm not using or considering this as a bushcrafty or camp knife, I've changed the angle of the grind from 12.5 to 15, and just to see what that does. And because that 15-degree angle is going to be a little bit stronger angle, leave a little bit stronger edge, because let's face it, a soldier is going to put this thing through a lot more abuse than most of us will on camp. So anyway, but that's the concept. Now again, I put the lanyard hole up in the top so that if you wanted to, you could have a D-ring type, soft shackle type guard there, because, you know, guards have their place, but for my personal use, I prefer not to have a guard, which my handles are pretty safe anyway for these little bubbles up here for most of them. And, you know, that acts kind of as a guard in itself, as long as you have a good grip on it. So anyway, so that's where we at on the what I call the Woodsman's grind. Some people call it the WC grind or Collins grind or whatever you want to do. And it's, I don't think I came up with it. You know, maybe I just expanded the envelope a little bit, took it to another level maybe. That's probably fair to say. But as far as the concept of it, I mean, Mora has the cans ball, and the Mora 2000 was another one that I really looked at and thought, wow, you know, what if? And that's where a lot of this comes from, is, you know, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, what if? And I just get out in the shop and I start grinding and seeing what can be done, and if it's functional or not. If it's, just because it looks cool doesn't mean it's going to work well. So that's what I do with field trials. And once I get it to where I think that it has promise, then a lot of times I'll ask people to kind of take it to the field and get their input. Sometimes they'll say, you got to change the handle, or sometimes they'll say the grind doesn't make sense to me, or whatever. You know, the concept is there, and it's because somebody else before me started that process. So anyway, I appreciate every one of you and all of your interest in WC Knives, and who knows what's going to happen. I mean, this is kind of the short version of the past 7-8 years of WC Knives, which is pretty much grown into a multi-grind or a compound grind knife shop, because I can put out a standard knife grind and they don't sell very well, because that's not what people expect from WC Knives. They expect this, and most of the time my customers, they're going to buy every model that comes out because they work. Knives made to work. What a concept, huh? And that's not just because you're out there working on it. That means the design concept is made to work, to function, to be versatile. So anyway, thank you guys for allowing me to live my dream and to just do this. Thank you so much. Until the next one, get a backyard wheel on a stick. Be sure and take a child with you, get the opportunity. Don't forget those big and bad days and lots of knives. We'll catch you again very soon.